Hello and welcome everyone tuning in from around the world. My name is Rob Warner and today we are celebrating one of the most fluid, creative and entertaining athletes to have ever ridden a bike. With a long string of viral smash hits to his name, he is probably one of the most watched sportsmen on YouTube. And today we are celebrating his 10-year anniversary since becoming a Red Bull athlete. It is, of course, Danny MacAskill. Danny, thanks for joining us.
How's it going?
Are you feeling all right this far south, mate? It's probably a bit warm for you.
Yeah, kind of just about coping. Just about coping.
Yeah. But what a decade it's been. You know, I guess my first question is, how did a kid from the Isle of Skye become this phenomenon around the globe from just riding a bike?
I suppose some right place at the right time. I mean, I almost feel quite lucky growing up in somewhere like Dunvegan, where there wasn't that much to ride. You know, had a couple of walls. Around about 97, 98, kind of watched the films like Dirt, Chain Spotting, of course.
Did you?
Yeah, massive inspirations. And I would go out in out in the street and try to recreate some of the tricks.
And it all come really from trials, though, is your background, isn't it? I mean, that's something you can just do with a bike and anywhere.
I had a mountain bike and kind of did the classic thing of buying a bash guard for it, stuck on some Magura brakes, and their job's a good one. And then I would kind of I learned a few random tricks there, that you might not necessarily learn if you had higher walls to jump up or bigger gaps to do. So it was kind of that kind of foundation that kind of got me into the kind of more streety side of things as well, learning how to do some of the
creativity comes from it. You weren't aiming for such a competitive environment. And of course, we saw that really first and foremost in your first film, Inspired Bicycles, the movie that, well, you tell me, but it changed everything, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, by the time I was filming around Edinburgh, I'd been riding for quite a few years, and I had a bunch of tricks that I'd always wanted to do, kind of lines like riding along top of a spiky fence, or I always fancied going upside down in a street film, which was quite rare at the time, so trying to find a tree to do a flare off and things like that. And we never imagined putting those kind of tricks together. My flatmate Dave Sowerby edited it all, filmed it amazingly. He's an amazing BMX filmer anyway, and
he created a masterpiece.
Yeah, kind of went on. Yeah, I mean, could never imagine what would happen when that thing went online. So
no. You were that overnight sensation.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to watch the 4 films Danny has created with Red Bull back-to-back, with a live commentary from myself and mainly from Danny, I promise you. I'll be reading your comments, so make sure you leave any questions in the live chat so that I can ask them to the big man himself. We'll also be deciding once and for all what is Danny's greatest ever Red Bull moment. Danny has chosen his favourite four moments from his previous Red Bull films, and now he needs your help to vote for the best one at redbull.com/Danny. Let's take a look at the 4 moments then that you're going to be voting on. So the voting has been open on redbull.com/Danny for a few days already. Let's check how the results are currently looking. And at the moment, it is the Bale out front as your people are voting as your favourite move. That was all pretty tricky big moves, those, Dan, aren't they?
Yeah, I'd say it's, we'll see how it goes later in the hour. So. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, the poll will be open until the end of the show, so make sure you head to redbull.com/Danny to cast your vote. So I suppose, really, I think we better have a look at your first Red Bull film.
Yeah.
Let's do it. This is Way Back Home. So where's this? Where was
So
it all
we're-
shot? All in Edinburgh.
Yeah. So we started. The idea was to kind of
Been back
like
in
on
my
the
village
base.
at Dunvegan, it's gonna be cool.
So yeah, start in Edinburgh and then head all the way up to Skye. This was a pretty cool day getting to ride up on Edinburgh Castle. You know, it's somewhere I always dreamt about, kind of riding my bike. I'd look up from Princess Street down there, and yeah, I would dream about doing this trick, but
Wow,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, it was what you can't see there was actually blowing a force 10 hoolie or a 50-mile-an-hour wind, and
It really was,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
pretty miserable. But yeah, it was again working with Dave Sowerby. We filmed Inspired Bicycles, the first film that I'd made, you know, inspired. And
This one feel a lot different to the first one. I mean, you know, the big thing there is you've got a Red Bull helmet on.
yeah, it was kind of similar. I mean, it was just myself and him and another friend, Mark Huskisson. He was kind of doing the documentary part, and we just cut around the country. You know, I'd done a lot of scouting for this. I'd actually broken my collarbone 3 times in a row.
How'd you ideal when you just signed for a big
after,
car?
yeah, just after I signed for Red Bull. So I had a lot of time cutting around the little automatic Fiesta in a sling, trying to scout the different spots. And
Obviously not driving in a sling.
oh well, yeah, I wouldn't say
Exactly,
you did.
of
You know,
course, of course.
I mean, that's what automatics are for.
That's well, yeah.
That's why I always have one from now.
I think it's
You know,
probably
something.
would be a defence if it ever was proven done. But yeah, I mean, you know, but this just again, it's just unbelievable seeing you on a bike. And you must be really happy. 42 million views this movie.
Yeah, this one was a tricky one. I mean,
Look at that. What are you doing?
I had huge aspirations for this film, and you know, spent so much time scouting around Scotland, trying to find the coolest stuff I could find. But I had aspirations, you know, that were fairly unrealistic, actually. I'll maybe say it further on in this film. But yeah, and I look back on it. You know, there was a lot of clips that didn't make it into the film, or you know, the sun would go down, or
Yeah.
the weather wasn't quite right. But
Yeah, there's so many factors that, unless you film a lot, you'd actually never be aware of.
yeah, yeah, you can't see the wind, or you can't see, you know, how it
No.
kind of was. But
But when you know, it does make the finished product even more spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, now I look back on it, I think, oh, we did get that at sunset. We did, you know, this log I actually found on the east coast of Scotland, and
Med, look at the
I
sea there.
stashed it, and then we took it to the west coast so we could get a sunset.
No way.
And
Is that right?
Yeah, I stashed it for months. And this is actually these are islands in the Firth of Forth. You know, you can you look out from Edinburgh out to them, and they were old World War II kind of defences kind of
No
thing.
way. Is that right?
Really cool kind of place to go visit. Covered in birds and stuff in the
How on earth
summertime.
do you find a place like that?
I mean, what I did was look around on Google Images, Google Maps.
Is that
and-
right?
Yeah, and then you kind
Look
of
for big, like built flat roof buildings.
yeah, pretty much. You know, you kind of just search abandoned places, whatever country you're in, abandoned places. You know, there's all sorts of stuff on your doorstep. You know that you never knew was there. So I kind of went out and tried to discover it all. So
Was there a bit of you know, was there a bit something going through your head at this point, thinking like, this is my first real movie here? Because I guess, you know, what was your approach to doing Inspired Bicycles? Was it different to this one?
yeah, Inspired was kind of. I mean, I'd been riding in the city for 4 years. I had the stuff I was doing every day, and I hadn't really documented much about what I was doing day to day. Instagram didn't exist back then, you know.
Right, yeah.
YouTube was only first.
It's insane,
You know,
isn't it?
yeah. And this, you know, that was very much a street film. And this I wanted to kind of find, you know, concrete in the wilderness kind of thing. You know, have
Yeah.
really good backdrops. Like this is like a dam called Epecuén Dam. And it's kind of got a little trial arena there, you know. But it takes a couple of hours to walk up to. But
Does it?
pretty cool. It's almost
Look
like
at
a
it,
motor
dude.
trial spot, isn't it? It's pretty cool.
Everything you do is just so incredibly perfect. Although, I guess it's fair to say that everything you do isn't done first time, right?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, what you're seeing is hundreds. You know, it's a very concentrated version of my riding. You know, most tricks, maybe not this one, but you know, they're taking hundreds of goes, or you're only getting a couple of clips a day, maximum. And at one point, I wanted to jump off that bridge into the sea.
What?
Yeah.
Honest?
Yeah, like 41 meters down.
41, you
Yeah.
got as far as to measure it, did you?
Yeah, I had the Red Bull athlete manager by the legs measuring with a bit of fishing line and stuff.
Not really?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
No, you didn't.
I did, yeah. Back then with that, I was in a sling at the time.
You're like a lunatic, mate.
Yeah.
But who sometimes gets let out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you should jog 41 metres really on a bicycle.
This was definitely one of my favourite parts. It was like a mini free ride course, you know. That was my kind of funny comparing it to something like Rebel Rampage now, you know.
Road to Rampage, isn't it?
Yeah, it was my own little free ride course on Razzie. Pretty cool.
And this telephone box, I mean, you know, fair to say you did a few tumbles off the top of her.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the madder things I had planned. We actually cut the peat by hand, which is like a dirt that when you dry it, it burns like coal. It's what gives whiskey its flavour.
That's right, yeah.
Delicious flavour. And then we dug them all out.
Delicious flavour.
And then, yeah, we basically made a big stack of them and tried to make a jump out of it, which is a terrible idea. A lot harder than it looks.
Was it really? Was it? Yeah.
And this was one of the first things I jumped off from my village on my mountain bike back in like 97 or 96. So,
look how big this is though. I mean,
yeah.
When I watch that, every time I watch that, which is a lot, I just think about your poor old knees and back and elbows.
Bad.
Look at the impacts.
It's just technique. It's kind of like anything you learn how to kind of land fairly smoothly. Having no suspension actually helps. You know, when I've tried to do bigger drops on the mountain bike later on, the suspension actually makes it worse because you
Does it really?
Yeah, you go through the travel, and this is
And everything's a bit heavier and comes to a more of it. Is that right? Because you rely more on the suspension and your own technique. And you know, watching you just do fast things like that, big gaps and stuff. You clearly, you know, you're a trials rider, but you're much more than a trials rider.
I basically pretend now and again that I can ride transition. I never ride skate parks. I never do anything else.
Don't you?
No, much easier doing flat to flat like this. This is kind of my zone. You know, it's when you crash on the flat ground, you know where you're stopping. You're stopping there. Whereas when you crash in transition or a landing, then you're rolling to the bottom. I don't like it. But
you know that front flip off there, if it went wrong, it'd be big trouble. You're in the middle of nowhere. Is that something that's...
Well, my village is just down there. It's not too far. You know, 40 miles to the hostel kind of thing.
40 mile hour in a helicopter.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
But yeah, I mean it's a beautiful movie, isn't it? Was it a big part of it for you that you went back home on that voyage, kind of? Because I don't know, it feels like you signed for Red Bull, but you're still very much in touch with your roots.
Yeah, it was. That one was actually kind of first put forward by Red Bull at the time. You know, I kind of thought maybe I'd go further afield, but as soon as it was mentioned that, you know, took a camper van from Edinburgh back to Skye, I thought that is a really good idea.
Yeah.
And it gets to show off the kind of Scotland that I'm from. I feel, you know, especially being from Skye, I'm used to kind of all the kind of rural.
Are you fiercely proud of being Scottish in Scotland?
Yeah, I mean, not
beautiful place.
Not ridiculously, but you know, it's a nice place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, so yeah.
Well, what was your injuries? Because I say about all those big hits and those big impacts, you've always, I'd imagine, you are carrying injuries most of the time, aren't you, in this game?
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the start. You know, around 2009, broke my first collarbone. First of many bones I've broken since, but
yeah.
It's just kind of part and parcel of it. I've tried to use the injury time that I have, you know, rather than kind of sulking about it. I tried to, you know, plan the next project and think, you know, yeah, exactly, how to go bigger and better. You know, try to do the training I need to do. Some of the very rare times I'll hit the gym is to try to rehab the.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, if you spend a lot of time injured, you're just itching to get back on the bike, and a lot of it's mental as well. Almost more of it's mental.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Is it really? Yeah. How long do you find? How long did that take to film that film there?
The way back home, I think we worked on over 5 or 6 months. It didn't take 5 or 6 months to
scouting,
film,
I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think I put 17,000 miles on that camper van during the filming. So we were
17,000 miles.
Yeah, around Scotland. So it's like not a motorway really in sight. So it was.
No.
We were just going backwards and forwards to Skye, trying to chase the sun around Scotland, you know.
But I bet you enjoyed every minute of it, didn't you?
It was my first car. That camper van was my first full-time car. So
was it really?
Yeah, I drove the wheels off it. It was so good.
Most people have themselves a nice Escort.
That was my first car. And,
buoyed up, camper van.
That thing fairly shifted, especially with this 200-kilo log on the roof the whole time as well, with the mats and the wheelbarrows and everything strapped on. We had some good times in it.
I bet you did. Well, let's have a look then at one of the big moments from that film. Here is the bunker line. Oh, the bunker line, it's not coming up yet. So the bunker line, Dan, what was that then? It was...
Well, it's we call it the bunker line in here, but it's actually an old foundations for an old mine. And again, I found this place in Google Images. You know, although I live in the island just across the water, which will come up in a little minute.
Yeah.
But it's a really amazing island called Razi. You know, it's a little ferry jaunt across. And it has these amazing kind of concrete foundations that were in the bracken.
You strike me as a man who gets very excited about concrete structures.
Oh, I love it. There's just, I mean, the thing about concrete in the wilderness is it's like if you come across something good that's natural, it's usually kind of blends in a little bit to its surroundings. Whereas you find something like concrete, it might be a little bit of an eyesore to some people, but for me, it's something that people can relate to. Especially these ones, they've kind of got different angles, or whether sometimes it's even things like a post box, you know, like a rural post box, or whatever. It's all about kind of finding something that's relatable. Also, the good thing about concrete is it's quite uniform. If you find a random rock, you know, this is especially true when it comes to watching push bike trials or motorbike trials. What you're not seeing is all the little knobbles and bumps.
Right. Distract you and put you off so much.
So
you like to keep it as...
you find these kind of uniform things, and it allows you to kind of hopefully do some kind of impressive tricks on, but it makes it easier for me as well. So,
Well, let's have a look at that scene then behind the scenes. This is the filming of the bunker.
On this trip, we've been kind of doing whatever it takes to get the lines working. We're having to use blowtorches to dry the mud and things like that. Desperate times call for desperate measures.
That's going to go big.
What are you doing? Pretty excited about the weather we've got today. You know, when I thought about this line, or when I saw the photo, you know, on the internet of this place, this is what it looked like. So, in my head, this is what I was wanting.
Probably couldn't actually help but see a few midges flying across this. It wouldn't be Scotland without it, would it?
Yeah, definitely not.
But do you take from those surroundings? I mean, when you look at it there, it's such a stunning setting. Do you take? Does that give you something when you're riding?
Oh, for sure.
It does.
For sure. I mean, as I kind of said on the video there, it was when I saw it on Google Images, I just saw this on, you know, blue seas, blue skies. Not an easy thing to find up on the west coast of Scotland. You know, you spend a lot of time up at Fort William. You know the score.
It's rain a bit, yeah. There's some truth in that.
And with the way back home, you know, it was the first time we kind of started filming with a digital SLR camera. You know, it was Canon 5D.
Yeah.
And they work amazing in good light. You know, the shots.
It's a stills camera, that, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was kind of, it really sort of changed the game.
Yeah, because it films in like a very sort of what's the word?
Cinematic. I think it is.
Exactly.
You have to get there. Yeah, really kind of, you know, you have to use it in a certain way. You don't have any zoom and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I really wanted that spot in particular to be gleaming.
It's a beautiful spot.
But we had a right nightmare. Probably spent about 12 days on the island.
Do you take? Sorry, it's interesting to you though. But are you that involved? Do you even have a say in the way it's filmed? You don't just leave that to the director. You're like, I want this to shine. I want this to be.
A little bit of both. You know, I mean, certainly. I mean, I'd say certainly way back home, I started really getting into the filming. But I mean, I'm working with Dave Serby, who's you know, one of the best BMX filmers in the world, so I completely trust him. He's focused very much on making the riding look the best.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got to take in the surroundings. And when you're somewhere like Razi, you know, it's hard to make it look bad. But I know he's got the riding first and foremost, and then... Which
is probably the most important thing, isn't it?
Even for you, for me it is, for sure. It's hard, you know, and that's why I work with my friends, you know, when I'm making these clips. They know how I work. They know how, you know, I trust them to be getting the shot. They're going to
Yeah.
press record, and they also know how to kind of, you know, like doing some of the stuff, I'll be scared, and they know how to kind of work with me.
You get scared?
Oh, definitely.
Do you
Massive.
really? Yeah.
Yeah. There's some other clips I'm sure that are coming up, and I'll tell you more about that later. So.
Absolutely, yeah. It's interesting that you have that fear still, but I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me at all looking at what you're doing. But
Yeah.
that and the pressure as well. How long did it take there to build that section, the bunker section?
I think we spent at least 6 days. I managed to get a few of my friends from Skye, a bunch of hooligans to come over onto Razzie, and we spent a lot of time there having barbecues, just digging away. I really don't like working with dirt much, especially trying to do things that take lots of takes. It's really hard to get the landings hard enough to do
Yeah,
multiple goes. I mean, these days I would maybe put some like quickcrete or something into the dirt to
solid it up.
Yeah, because if you're hitting something, you know, 100 times, you know, that tire tap, I had a real hard time doing it. You know, you end up making ruts.
Yeah.
It becomes really tricky.
Yeah.
Um,
Another factor you don't
yeah,
really want, yeah.
and then we just waiting for the weather. That was a big thing. I remember the day before we got all the clips, it was really overcast. You know, it was dry. But I purposely...
Which is a miracle in itself.
Yeah, I know, but I purposely was like, nah, all right, you know, I'm going to push Red Bull a wee bit, push our schedule to wait the next day to get that weather, because
Yeah.
we put so much time and energy into it. We had to look how
It's
I
good that
imagined.
you're your own boss and you stand your own ground,
Yeah,
isn't it? That's
I
right.
had to. I mean, that was the first clip we'd done with Red Bull as well, so it was a real learning curve for.
Better be pucker.
Yeah, well, it was a learning curve for all of us. You know, I was, you know, I'd be out at signal most of the time up in the Highlands,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't really be reporting back with what we were getting, but we were pushing hard.
They're probably used to that though.
Yeah.
From a few of their athletes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Well, remember, if you think the bunker from way back home is Danny's greatest Red Bull moment, you can vote in our online poll at redbull.com/Danny. Let's take a look then at the results so far. And it is still the Bale, the most popular moment at the moment. 35%. We'll be showing you that a little bit later on as well. But the tank, the front flip, and the Bale all coming up. But yeah, what do you reckon, Dan? Are those you surprised by the voting at the moment?
I don't know. It seems. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And we've got some questions. Keep those questions coming in via the live chats. So let's have a look here. We've got one here from Christian T. Your tricks are great and inspire him.
Well,
They inspire a lot of people. Where did you get your inspiration from?
Well, there's a massive, like I said, some of the early videos that my friend's older brother had, like dirt, chain spotting.
That really was what
and then
set the
For
cold.
sure. I mean, I grew up in a wee island up north, and it was my friend's older brothers getting into mountain biking that really, you know, I'd follow them around like that annoying little kid.
I mean, you inspire millions and millions of people now. Who inspires you now? Because you're at the top of the game. I don't know who you'd look up to.
I mean, I don't know. There's so many things. I still look back at the videos, especially with Martin Ashton, Martin Hawes, Hans Ray.
The original
I mean,
trials riders.
Chris Ackles videos just like the other day.
Yeah.
Still absolutely smashing it. Just having a cyclocross bike. I mean, these days I think music's a big inspiration for me.
Is it?
Yeah. It's like from when I wake up in the morning, I have my music app, whatever one it is, and I have I'm always whether it's when I wake up or I have all these different playlists that I kind of listen to, and
you take
I'm always thinking about the next project or looking for the right track for the, you know, and it's
apparent because the music, I think as well as your movies go on, the music becomes a bigger part of them. I might be wrong, but that's how it feels.
And then I still search for abandoned places all the time as well. Like I'm still looking, for the next kind of random abandoned place, you know.
Yeah. You're a busy man. You never stop thinking. Yeah. Susan MC, Danny, is there anything left that you want to achieve riding?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different. I mean, I've got a massive long list of ideas that I'd like to get through. I don't think it's even possible to get through them in my lifetime, really.
Don't you?
Yeah, I've just got a big list, and the good ones always rise to the top. I've got lots of random little ideas, but it's usually just kind of, you always have one big one that's set the next year, and if you manage to get there injury-free, then...
Do you enjoy thinking about them, or do you find it's a bit of a...
It's all I think about. I mean, even...
It is, yeah.
It's funny.
It's not a chore to you to have to think it up, you know what I mean? It's like, not a pressure, I should say.
Well, I mean, that's kind of, it's why, my job these days is to daydream. about these ideas,
Yeah.
and then obviously to do the writing as well. But it's I think that almost the concept's more important in the beginning than the writing, because you come up with a really good concept that allows you to be really creative with the writing, and you can kind of come up with tricks that are unusual or never been done.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of make the whole thing work out. So,
It's an incredible process to obviously to get to the films
Yeah.
that we see. One here from Pietro D. How many hours a day do you ride?
oh,
This is a
Oh, I
question.
mean, it's
This
at
is.
least-
Come on, Dan. You must be on
I
that
must
bike
do at
9 hours a
least,
day.
10 hours a day. No, I mean, you know, it's funny, when I lived in Edinburgh working in the bike shop, you know, I'd be riding every day. Lunch break, I'd ride my lunch break and probably 3 hours at night every day. Whereas nowadays I spend a lot of time travelling, you know, from doing shows or whatever. So probably ride 3 or 4 days a week if I'm lucky, if I'm fully healthy.
Which is
I would
probably
like to-
rare these days, isn't it,
Yeah,
mate?
I'd like to ride a lot more. I kind of need to maybe schedule some stuff around next year and try to get a little bit more time on my bike rather than talking about it. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay, well, I think it's time we moved on to your
Yeah.
next film. 90 million views, this one, and this is one where he certainly used his head. This is Imaginate. So, that's not the little hotel you see on the way out to Fort William just before Glencoe, is it? It doesn't half look like it.
No,
No.
Stu, I've not actually been there. Stu went out and filmed it. It's funny.
But
Oh
this,
yeah, I'm talking about over the top of that. I forgot.
this concept is absolutely unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point was recreating my bedroom floor as a kid. Yeah, it was kind of first inspired.
I love this. I love the storyline. I mean, the riding is, of course, one thing, and it's extraordinary, but the concept of this film is...
Yeah, we were really trying to hit the nostalgia, as I say, on this kind of film. It was, you know, what you daydreamed about as a kid, and then as an adult with these new skills, I wanted to kind of go back, and this bit makes me cringe a bit.
Well, actually,
No,
it makes me smile, because you can see that you obviously had to do it 1,000 times to make it look that natural.
It was horrible. So
Yeah. It's better when you're on the bike, mate, isn't it?
yeah, oh for sure. But it was Stu that kind of got me into doing a little bit of acting, I think, in front of the camera.
Did he?
Yeah, he loves it. He always just likes making I wouldn't say a fool out of me, but you know.
No, you definitely don't look
Yeah.
like a fool, mate. Believe me.
Yeah.
But, I mean, wow, look at it. And this, you know, first time then you'd made a film indoors. I mean, that's a completely different
Yeah, I mean, I
scenario,
kind of.
isn't it? Where was this shot, Dan?
This was shot in the Calvin Hall in Glasgow. It's the old transport museum, which I kind of knew was lying derelict because they'd since moved it to next to the Clyde, and it ended up being the perfect, you know, place for it because it already had a train, you know, a fake train sat there, a platform, railway tracks. We just had to carpet the whole place, build a giant 80 meter long, 12 meter high canvas wall. To be honest, the whole project was complete madness. I mean,
Yeah.
the amount of time was put into the set build.
Well, look at it. It is absolutely the scale of this.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you think when you walked in there the first time? Was it up and built when you went in?
No, it was, you know, it's a huge big area. We had to black out the window. It was just a huge operation. This trick was one of the hardest ones I did in Imaginate. It took me about 400 goes to try to front flip over from the ball onto the railway track. I was working with Robbie Mead for the first time.
Was that the hard bit?
Yeah, it was just
Not the 180 between
no,
the two.
the 180 part is the easy part. You know,
No,
it's like,
come on.
Honestly, it's like you don't really use much energy. You kind of just sort of flop across.
Yeah, easy for you to say, Dan.
This is a fun line. These are actually telegraph poles that are trimmed down with chainsaw. But what you can see is that they were treated with creosote, and all the paint was actually leaking. The creosote would come through the paint, so they were really slippy to ride.
No way.
Yeah,
That's something you don't know.
No, they were a nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
Were they really?
I was pretty I was pretty happy that one worked out.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, it was.
What were those cards then? They were just
They
big
were,
props of made out of plywood.
They were 8x4 sheets of ply cut down to 6 foot, and then my friend Davey Mack made them, you know, look like playing cards. So this was definitely the coolest thing. Having a real tank getting to drive a real tank around in a hall was. And then it's my friend Duncan Shaw made the costumes, and it's my nephew Thomas Pryor's in there, and friend Nash Masson as well. They're the army men there, and.
Was this the first time you'd worked with Stu Thompson on a movie, or?
Second time. First one we did was a wee film called Industrial Revolutions.
It's a great film though as well.
But this was the first time for us all, I think, working with lighting rig. We had like 20k lights hung up with cherry pickers, and wow. Cool. I get the feeling in here, and that's my mum shouting there. So.
What's Stu Thompson like as a director? Because you and him, you know, you're pretty close, aren't you? Really?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
You've gone on to work on a lot of other projects since.
Yeah, really good, really good. I mean, I would say he's really good at handling the whole production as well.
He's a patient man, I've heard.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I mean, this was a real big production, a big learning curve for all of us.
That looks impossible, mate.
It was kind of one of the easier ones.
I love it.
It was kind of one of the more expensive builds. We had that, you know, built by like an outside fabricator.
That's not Trials?
No, that was an opposite 360 flip. I can since do them actually in my proper way, which is actually a lot easier.
But that, I mean, you know, you watch afterwards. You had some big slams during this one.
Yeah.
And you were carrying injuries, right? Had you had back surgery before this?
Yeah, that was the hard thing with Imaginate. I had surgery at the beginning. At the beginning of 2012, and I was supposed to have a year off, and then we had this penciled in for January 2013. So I had all this, like especially the loop there. We had the loop built, and sat in the corner of the room, and I had to. Sorry, oh, I'm scared.
Don't talk over your mum.
Yeah, I can't talk over my mum. She'll shoot the boots off me. She's probably watching just now, actually.
Yeah.
Hi,
Mum.
But
is she keen to be involved?
A wee bit reluctant in that one, but quite funny having it. But yeah, the hard thing was Imagine it was having all these ideas, and then you know, with my current state of writing, trying to actually make it all come together. You can see how awkward. Oh my God, the cringe.
He loves this bit. Look,
the cringe. That's what she's doing.
He's loving this bit. That's Stu's doing.
Yeah.
Tell you what, when you watch it, it's hard actually sometimes to gauge the reality of the scales of things and that.
That was the whole point of putting the outtakes in the at the end. Sorry.
Oh really?
Yeah, because we had to break the illusion, because otherwise you couldn't tell that it was. I mean, under that floor it's just concrete, under the carpet, and
nice and soft then.
Yeah, you know, it's all kind of, you know, that was the whole point of putting this kind of little outtakes on the end of it. So yeah, that was a really fun one, but probably one of the toughest projects I think I've worked on.
Well, looking at that, we'll have another look at that in a bit. But yeah, I mean, that you loved that in the end, didn't you?
Yeah, the loop and the whole backflip out of the wall.
And that was the worst bit?
Yeah, by far. 5 of diamonds give you nightmares doing that one, so.
Really, I mean, one of the best moments that I've seen is when you're queuing up to do that flare.
Mm.
And it didn't look like you really felt comfortable doing it. And Stu Thompson is just looking at the camera, and it's like David Attenborough going, "Yeah, we think he's going to do it anytime." So it was like he was waiting to see a first sight of a rare bird.
Man.
You know, it was just a rare trick. But
it's funny how it's probably one of the more simple tricks in the whole film. You know, there'd be thousands of writers out there that would do it easily. But
is it how much of that's mental for you?
It was a weird one, because originally we built the flare setup. You know, it's not a smooth transition, and then it was a little bit too thin. So every time I would do a flare, my front wheel would come off the side and go over the handlebars, and just couldn't do it. I kept on carving too hard, and we actually ended up wasting, I think, 2 days of filming trying to get that one flare done.
2 days.
Yeah, and by the end of the 2 days, you know, it's the same conditions the whole time, which is nice.
Yeah.
Nicer than being out in the middle of a
Fortunately,
field.
you can't say it's raining today.
Yeah,
you have
exactly.
to leave it a couple of days.
The sun coming
a bit
out,
windy.
But then I started kind of losing my mind. It was really weird.
Did you?
Yeah, you come back in and the light setup would be exactly how it was before, and nothing had changed. So it was almost like you'd slip exactly back into the same mentality that you had the day before. So rather than coming in, even if you had a different routine in the morning, you know, you kind of line up on the bike and it would be the same. So that was actually the last trick.
No way, and it got it made it. How long did that actually? Because I guess there was a lot of pressure on you as well with that one, because you know you'd done. It was your second Red Bull movie, but you know it clearly is on a different scale to anything. It's not using natural obstacles. It's all been brought in for you into that environment.
It's hard when you have such a good concept. I mean that, you know, we had all these amazing features built. You know, from the pencils, you know, it all just looked so good. It was up to me to kind of really put the writing down that kind of, you know, at the level that I really felt I wanted. So, but I'd been off my bike for like 10 months beforehand.
10 months. And
so it was really kind of getting on the bike for the first time, you know, feeling out how my back was, but my mind wasn't quite there. You know, that was the hardest part, was kind of making yourself.
Surely the confidence wasn't there if you hadn't ridden for that long, really.
Yeah, you didn't have some of the muscle memory that you kind of rely on, or you know, it's kind of natural. So it was, all in all, it was you know, you can get the little violin. It was a real tough time. Oh, it was so tough. But
well, I know it was. Because I spoke to Stu, and he said it was a tough one for you.
Yeah. But worth it. I now look back on, and then there wasn't many tricks that I had written down in my little book that we didn't manage to do, you know.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's like we managed to, especially having like a real F1 car and stuff in there. That was just cool.
I know.
It's just
but you know what? Unless you, like you said, you lose the scale, and it looks like you lose it. It's like it's a toy F1 car with a toy you jumping over it almost.
Exactly.
It just looks surreal.
Exactly. But it was, I mean, I look back and imagine it, and you know, you forget about all the kind of harder times, and you think that was worth it. That's for sure. And
the tank scene, we're going to take a look at it in a moment. I mean, it looked like a fair slam, that did, Dan.
Yeah, the tank was, that was one of the bigger crashes that I had. You know, definitely knocked the wind out my sails and it ended up kind of giving me some kind of weird labyrinthitis kind of ear thing for a couple of weeks afterwards.
What does that do then? I hope it doesn't affect your balance.
Oh, massively, yeah. So basically, I mean, it's kind of, you know, I'll maybe not give you an example of what it is to feel like that, but it's kind of, if you close your eyes, it feels like the whole room's spinning.
Yeah, we've all experienced that now and again. Of course, you never have been a professional athlete. I mean, you've heard about that weird feeling you get sometimes.
But I mean, it was shut the whole production down for a couple of weeks, and but to be honest, it was actually some ways a good thing. It kind of gave me time to kind of get out of that place for a wee while. And, I came back in, and then the next thing we did was the loop scene. So it was.
And your sister was there for that one, thankfully, eh?
Yeah. So we had my sister came along to watch me, and my nephew's actually one of the army men in the background. So my sister and my niece were there watching, and she kind of stresses about me a wee bit, you know, about what I'm up to, and I'm like, oh, it's an easy day. Come down, you know, I'm just jumping off a tank, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to ride along the turret, 360 off the end. It's
fine. And then I knocked myself out. So.
Right. Well, at this point, I think we should have a look. Let's go behind the scenes then of the tank.
There we go. This is seriously cool. Some of these ideas that were just these little drawings have turned out to be huge operations. Just trying to decide what tank we want. You turn up to this field and there's like a bunch of tanks sitting there and loads of army stuff, and it just was like, okay, this is brilliant. Danny already had in his mind what he wanted to do in it. The line and how it features in the film was kind of already sorted, because we had this idea of toy soldiers and of Danny doing a tail whip drop off the gun barrel.
It might be quite cool to even come up the side here. It's kind of got a decent wee angle. Say if you kicked and you could do a wee hook or something up here. Off when you kick it up. Back wheel, turn. I've got my wee guides here that can just guide me down onto the barrel. If you go like that and do a wee stunt off the end. This is ridiculous. What do you want? I think we'll get a tank in. This is the stuff that was in my kind of daydreams, or the stuff that was when I was drawing my little book. This thing right here was like, it'd be cool to get a tank. Yeah.
It just took on a completely different feel and meaning and everything once we brought it on location. We brought it in here. We were really worried about tearing up the set and the carpet, moving around and everything, but it was amazing. And the toy soldiers just worked better than we could have ever imagined on the film as well. So it was fantastic.
Tank didn't get a ticket for emissions through the centre of Glasgow, did it?
Yeah, 16 litre engine belting out the smoke or whatever it is.
Did you get a go in it?
I did, yes. It was definitely a cool day seeing that thing come power sliding around one of the corners. A wrong way down a one-way street, you know.
Did it?
Passers-by,
Crushing cars that were coming down it.
Passers-by just looking like, what on earth is going on? That was a cool day having that in set, and as soon as I got into set as well, it just almost shrank down.
Did it?
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
it does. It looks small in the. It's again another one of those exposure bits. It doesn't look like as big as a tank could look. Really, no, it's weird, isn't it?
It was cool. That's for sure.
And where did you get the idea to literally ride along and do the big tail?
Yeah, it was. I mean, well, for me, it was kind of obvious. You know, it's kind of something thin. The paint on the tank is actually relatively grippy as well. It's designed to be stood on, you know.
But how do you put your front wheel on the end of a turret in 360?
It's not the hard. It wasn't the hardest thing. I mean, I'd say trials is quite slow speed, and so you do a lot of things where you do a maneuver, and you know you can quite easily jump off onto your feet, and I think that's kind of an important part of getting to the level, say I'm at the moment, is being able to crash. It's the same as any sport, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's being able to crash safely.
Well, the downward's trained for it.
Yeah, so exactly. So
you know what I mean? It's part of it.
So you have like an action plan. You can think very sort of cold, so not cold and calculate. You can be very calculated about it. You know, you're not stressing about those kind of tricks. But the crash there definitely caught me off guard. And
yeah, it was a big one.
Yeah,
I think we should have a look at it actually, and some others. Let's have a look at some of the outtakes then from the tank scene.
The tank was one of the obstacles that actually had one of the biggest crashes on the project on.
Oh, mate.
It was a bit of a scary moment actually, and to be honest, it's probably the worst crash I've seen him have. First he was just like trying to breathe, and he was clearly really badly winded, but then about sort of 5 or 6 seconds into it you could just see him he shook a little bit, and then he just went drifting, like went unconscious. But he came round about, he was unconscious for not even 10 seconds, and he came round again and was winded.
I must have hit my head because I knocked myself out, but yeah, it's good to have a knock here and there.
Knocked out on set.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a big one, mate, isn't it? But how long does it take you to get back on after something like that then? I mean, mentally?
Well, I mean, that one was, as I say, it kind of affected my ear.
Yeah.
Like, I think it did. I mean, I got something like that after, like a couple of days later.
I heard actually, did a rumour it might have been your hot tub.
No, that's not. We keep that thing well chlorinated.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah.
It's clean,
yeah.
is it?
No.
Okay, mate. Just double check, and there is a rumour, yeah, because you did move on. Was it during the filming that you bought the hot tub on it?
Yeah. Well, because I'd had a back operation as well, so it was quite good to be able to kind of
the heat
float around.
And is it true that you put it on the balcony of your flat?
Yes, but it's part of the building. It's part of the building. It's not a flashy one either. When you say a hot tub, it's like one of those ones that's inflatable. Yeah, it's not.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. Do the job.
No, they're really good. And how long did Imaginate take in total then? It was the biggest production you'd ever done at that point, wasn't it? By a long way.
Yeah, for sure. We started filming, we started building probably December kind of time, through December, and then started filming about halfway through January, and then we didn't finish until, I think, April or something crazy.
Were you happy with your back? Did it prove to you it had been worth the surgery?
I think so. I
think so.
Yeah. I mean, it was. It's still kind of gives me a bit of trouble these days, but.
Is it frustrating for you having to manage injuries?
It's the way of life, isn't it? You're gonna. Yeah. If you're gonna do any sport to a high level, you're gonna have tumbles. Doesn't matter what you're doing. So. Yeah, I mean the back's a particularly annoying one because it's really where all your power comes from. You don't know it, and you hear people, especially older folk complaining, "Oh, I've got sore back." You're like, when you're younger, you're like, whatever.
You've been moaning about these chairs all afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. I know. But it's not until you have any kind of back injuries or whatever, then you soon know about it, and it really affects how much power you have on the bike.
Yeah, it's a massive thing. Well, if the tank from Imaginate is Danny's greatest ever Red Bull moment, please remember you can place your vote at redbull.com/Danny. Let's have a look at the results so far, and it is still The Bale from We Day out front at the moment, 34%. Have they changed much, those percentages yet? I don't know.
I can't remember. Is the bunker creeping up? No.
It might have done a bit, maybe. I don't actually know. Right, let's have a look. We've got some questions here on social media as well, coming in as well. Here's a good one from Stywart. How are you handling those injuries then? I mean, what do you do to make sure you can keep getting on your bike?
How do I handle injuries? Coming back from injuries is the main time I go to the gym. I should probably do a lot more what they call kind of prehab, more training.
Yeah.
Certainly all the downhillers are constant in the gym, most other bike riders. But for me, I'm always kind of in the gym doing rehab, especially like recently I broke my kneecap and had a couple of knee operations on my left leg. So I spend quite a lot of time trying to sort those kind of things out. But while you're doing that kind of training, specifically for an injury, then you can also do a lot of balancing out of your body. Like trials is quite a, I don't know, it uses certain muscles, kind of arms, back, legs.
Yeah.
Things like the belly get left out a little bit,
Yeah.
So you kind of end up getting all these kind of imbalances. So it's quite good to kind of try to balance some other stuff out or heal up some other injuries while you're out. But
yeah, that's right. It's a constant management, isn't it, for you?
Yeah.
Here's one from Susie MC. What do you like to do in your downtime? Any other interests than riding?
I ride trials. I almost class trials and mountain biking. They're so different for me.
Yeah.
Trials is much more like, for me, it's like going for a jog. If I go out in the streets of Glasgow, I just put my headphones in, go out for a couple of hours, until I'm knackered, and then jump over some walls or rails or whatever.
Yeah.
Go home.
Still a cross-country ride, really.
Yeah, but when I go mountain biking, it's often a bit more social. So I I usually go out with my friends, and there you get a bit more of a buzz. It's really fun, just all slipping and sliding down some steep,
You enjoy normal mountain biking,
Oh,
though,
I
right?
love it.
You
I
do,
love
yeah.
it. And the wetter, the wilder the weather, the better
Showing
for me.
your Scottish roots
I
here,
love
mate.
it.
Listen
I cannot get
true Scotsman,
I literally cannot get enough of wet weather riding. We do a lot of it in this country. Some places kind of don't like it. And then I ride a little bit more motorbike trials as well. And then if I'm not doing any of that, then I'm usually traveling, for my so-called work and or just hanging out with my friends up in Skye or something like that.
Yeah. You still get back up there a lot?
Yeah, a lot. This year I've been quite busy, but I usually get back, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 times a year.
Do you get left alone on the Isle of Skye?
No, I go back home and it's completely, same with most places I go, but when I go back home it's completely normal.
Is it?
If I went back home trying to be Archie, thinking with my shades on, thinking I was the big man, then I would soon get knocked down a peg or two by my friends. So that's why I like going home. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's have a look at another film. This one takes us back outside, and it is Epecuén. Check this out.
En 1985 llegaron las lluvias. El agua del lago se elevó sobre las calles. La ciudad estaba bajo el agua y con el tiempo fue olvidada. Muchos años después, cuando el agua se retiró, emergió nuestra ciudad. Y ya no veo el uso que este lugar tiene para nosotros.
And Dan, what a beautiful place this was. It was a holiday resort, wasn't it? That got flooded. Is that right, in Argentina?
Yeah, it was a place called Lago de Epecuén. It's on the lake there, and yeah, back in I think 1985. Well, they'd had a drought for about 10 years, and then they dug a canal to another lake higher in elevation, and then the rain came back in, and it slowly flooded the town. So it's a real sad story.
Yeah, it was underwater for 25 years, quarter of a century, man.
Yeah.
Look at it.
I remember when I first came across it again, looking for my abandoned places online. I could not believe it. You know, it's like one of the most amazing kind of scenic spots that I'd ever seen. Although it's had a real sad story, I kind of wanted to go over there and try to do something that was, what's the word I'm looking for? Respectful.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of wanted to do something that was respectful to the people's.
But no one
houses.
died, did they, in that flooding, right? It was a very slow flooding. It wasn't like a natural disaster.
No, they even had time to actually remove the windows from the buildings.
No way.
Yeah. So there's a few cars and bits and pieces in garages, but you know, I think the locals managed to, you know, have time to kind of get their belongings out for sure.
And it was.
But it's just a
pretty nice looking playground for you, I'd
and
say.
what you see is all the trees here are actually all, you know, they're all kind of petrified with this kind of salt.
Honestly.
So all the white stuff that you see there, it's all the salt from the lake. There's actually flamingos on the lake as well, which is really cool. Yeah, we should have actually had more flamingos.
So you got the pink against this incredible like ashen background.
Honestly, it was, I would say, hands down the most incredible.
I love this. I love this. I don't know why. It's just the flow of that is just. Look at that, dude.
Yeah.
Tell me that's really difficult, right?
That was definitely one. It was about to rain. That was definitely one of the easier ones.
I know it was.
Yeah. But
and look at this. I mean, it's quite eerie, was it? It looks like Chernobyl or something after that, you know.
Yeah, I had a slightly different. Had some different music. I originally had the track by Devochka. I think it's Devochka, called "How It Ends," lined up for this. You know, it's kind of a little bit more, not apocalyptic, but a kind of, don't know, slightly different kind of song. But then when we got there, it was a much more blue sky kind of scene, you know, and the music didn't quite fit. But it was probably one of the most dangerous films I've made, I'd say.
Well, because of the fact that you were dealing with rotting concrete everywhere, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it was kind of like trying to make a trials film on eggshells. You know, that if they broke that you're going to end up falling, you know, sometimes up to 30 feet down to your doom. So it was, there's a lot of stamp testing. You kind of get up there and give a roof a stamp, and if it wobbled, then you go.
Health and safety executives are now all in a bit of a fluster. Yeah, gave it a good stamp test. That was fine.
That's it, the old stamp test. And then I had my friends John and George from Vision Ramps out there to support some of the roofs that were going to maybe, you know, fall in. But all in all, it was one of the most fun filming trips. Quite refreshing after Imaginate to kind of go somewhere. Yeah. With no, with time constraints. It was actually quite nice just having our flights there. We had like 10 days on site. And
is that all you had? This was all shot in 10 days?
Yeah.
Look at that. I mean, that's just breathtaking to look at.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
amazing place.
Anyone could probably ride by that tree and look half decent.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just.
I mean, that's
why you went there, isn't it?
Kind of what I like to try to do with the films. It's like, if you basically went and, you know, took a camera here and just did some nice shots of the place, it's already interesting for people to watch. But then if you had a wee sprinkling of stunts and whatnot in there, then, you know, it's already giving your foot up. You know,
well, especially when they're of the magnitude that you do stunts, as you call them. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, But like, it is. It's a beautiful looking film, isn't it?
Yeah, this is like the old swimming pool that was down by the lake.
Look at that.
I wouldn't want to go swimming in there though, that's for sure.
Probably.
I had some ideas of trying to do something down the flume.
It does look
but
a bit
honestly,
like
if you went in there, it had it looked like some beastie was going to come and get you if you went in there. Loch Ness Monster. The Argentinian version.
Could have been that, dude.
Yeah. But,
look at it. I just love how easy you are on a bike as well, mate. Like.
Well, it looks like it's easy.
It really does.
What you don't see is it's like 36 degrees, and I tried that probably, I don't know, 100 times. Especially this one, actually, it was 38 degrees, And
38 degrees.
we must have tried this maybe 200 times in the afternoon. Brutal. It was.
That really took 200 goes in 40 degree heat nearly. Yeah.
I'm just a big fraud, really. I mean, I kind of do stuff until I basically fluke it, and then, so, you know. But at least I do. At least I carry on until I get it done. But that was definitely one of the most testing days, you know, out there, and you know, used to it being about a maximum of 10 degrees in the sky. I had a bit of a meltdown.
Yeah,
I had a bit of a meltdown on this trick as well. Trying to get that turn without any hops was really difficult. Not the tire tap, but the first part. Aye, the old Epecuén. It was.
Cool. Beautiful though, isn't it? Look at that.
Pretty tetanusy.
Nice floppy ramp to do a backflip off.
That's cool. I mean, that's one of my favourite things to do is when you find finding a transition that's naturally there is a really cool, you know, being able to do backflips without having to do any building is quite a cool thing.
The way you ride a bike, dude, it's like it's stuck to you. It is. It's I came from trials myself, be it motorbikes and a bit of bike trial, but the way you ride is just, like I say, so effortless and just. But I don't know. You
come and watch me ride or film for the day, and you'll soon see it's not.
It's like I mean, there's no one more one with a bike than you. I've never seen it, but
maybe it comes across in the videos, but.
And this is a hotel, right?
Yeah, not quite. It was actually an abattoir.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So it was. I think it was the local abattoir.
Is it really?
Yeah, I was a
the
bit
smell had long gone.
I was pretty worried about going through the roof of that one because that's a 30-foot drop underneath it. Yeah.
Onto God knows what.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a good time. This is a last-minute scramble, last day of filming, trying to get all the big tricks done.
Christ.
So it was.
Dude.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Did you land on those roofs thinking this might not hold me?
They passed the stamp test. There's some of them that were a little bit sketchy, but they used this sort of terracotta brick, which is hollow in the middle. And this was kind of trying to make use of this newfangled gimbal at the time called a Movi, which is like it's a gyro stabilized camera.
Right.
So we could actually pass. That was passed between filmers up the top there.
No,
you know, it's quite cool. Yeah, it's quite good fun trying to make the most of that. That's why it's also.
And which director was this? This wasn't Stu Thompson.
No, this was back with Dave Surrey, who filmed Inspired Bicycles and The Way Back Home. So, and also Robbie Mead, another very good filmer who I've made some other films with.
Look at this.
And then into the.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that was a good feeling getting that done.
Is that as hard as it looks?
Yeah, pretty much.
Good.
Pretty much.
I'm glad you've admitted something, mate.
It was pretty. You know, I've only done, that trick twice in my life.
So you've only done it twice in your life?
Yeah, or on different bikes. That was the first one I'd ever done on the trials bike.
That was the first one. And that, so when you say that, really though, you haven't got like a piece of wood in the ground at home with a board on it and you don't ride up to it and practice front flips because you've got all that. I mean, you ride for Red Bull. They can build you a foam pit and a bit of wood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was, for me, it's a lot about trying to learn it on location. We had some mats.
Why though on location? What? I can't believe that you don't have all these tricks ready. Then you go away, find the location, and go right. That trick will fit there. It's not how you do it though.
No, it's. I mean, I probably should. Now you say it.
No, don't.
If we did 10 years, 10 years of it, 10 years.
How many hundreds of millions of views have you had? No, don't listen to me.
Yeah, no, it was. I don't know. It's hard to build that specific setup. And I didn't know that sign was there, so it's not until you're there that you can, you can actually practice it in real life.
Well, and there's a bit of you goes, right, look at that there, and and it's like that. What's the process for you to get to a trick?
Normally what will happen is you'll come up with a concept, Epecuén was more about the location. It was more about going there. We've spent 2 days scouting before.
As opposed to Imaginate, which is, I suppose, all about setting the ride.
I mean, that almost makes it harder when you've got a blank canvas. It almost makes it more difficult to come up with the tricks, because you can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you think it's easy, but it's not. It's having a little bit of restrictions here and there, or being restricted by your environments, kind of makes you creative. But often what happens is I jot down a bunch of tricks. Come up with a overall concept, and then I'll jot down a few tricks that would kind of maybe work around that to make it come alive.
You say that. How did you find Epecuén, how did you even find
Just
that place?
online. Yeah, I remember.
You found that, though?
Yeah.
It wasn't a horde of
It was
research.
either me or it might have been my flatmate Miles.
Really?
It was like a news article, but I remember looking at it for the first time. And I was like, I have got to go there, and I was worried.
Right?
I was almost worried. It's funny when you find something so good, you start stressing that somebody else is going to go there to do something. You know.
Even though it's unlikely, it's
Yeah,
like on the very
yeah.
southern end of Argentina, and
Yeah.
no one's been there for I don't know how many
Yeah,
years.
and I was surprised I hadn't seen it in like National Geographic or.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is one
Well,
of
the
the most.
story of it as well is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it was. As I say, we want to be really respectful, to the people that whose houses it was, and
Yeah.
there's one resident still there called Pablo, who was.
Is that the one we see at the start?
Yeah, he's kind of cruising around with his dog, and
But he actually lives in the town.
yeah,
Like, he's got a house.
his house was just above high water, so just the last. His is like the last building, and he cruised around on this brakeless bike. He'd do a foot jam to stop it. It was pretty cool.
No way.
And then he also had this like crazy Mad Max Jeep that his son had kind of basically, taken out of the water and put a whole new kind of bodywork. Honestly, you couldn't make it up. It literally looked like it was out of Mad Max. It's like all these kind of bits of
way.
angle iron and
No way.
started with a screwdriver and stuff like that. So it was
It's quite a nice life.
yeah, you
there.
can see there's a full documentary about it on Rebel
Is there?
.com or something like that,
Is
or
there really? Yeah.
on Rebel TV. So
And also, it amazes me just how hands-on you are listening to you saying they used this for the first time. We shot it with this. I wanted it to look like that. I mean, but that's probably why they're so good. Is that these films are very much a product of you.
well, yeah, it's like me and my friends. It's like, as I say, it's so important to work with my friends on these films.
Is it? That's a massive thing to you.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to get slung in with this hot shot. We've got an amazing film crew here. They've done a load of Hollywood
Yeah, if
blockbusters.
somebody's shouting action at you, action when you're maybe sometimes I need that, but I mean, it could for sure work, but you have to build up trust with your filmers, and that's, all the guys I'm working with, I've been writing with for years, I've been filming with for years, and they understand me, I know them, they can kind of just make it work. But sometimes I get a little bit too bothered about the filming. You're kind of thinking about the light. You're thinking about the angles. I mean, not so much the angles, because, but if you're doing things like jib movements and stuff,
You even do worry about that because
Oh, yeah.
I'd be like, well, that's down to them.
it's too much. You get some writers who are.
I'm starting to see why these films are what they are, though.
Well, yeah,
true.
also maybe see why some of my friends don't like maybe filming me all the time. I don't know, but no, it is good. It's a real collaborative thing, and yeah, really lucky to do
Perfection's
it.
not an easy thing,
Yeah.
Danny.
Yeah.
You're all right, mate. It's amazing. And in this film, the bump front flip, that was the first time then you'd done it, you said, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't actually the plan. I had it sketched out, and I wanted to do it over a fence for a film I was going to make later that year.
Yeah.
Called The Ridge.
Not a bad movie either.
But when we'd scouted all over Epecuén, we really went over every square metre of the town. We didn't find anything that was like an ender, something that was new.
Yeah.
It was all like kind of good trials riding, big
Yeah.
drops, whatnot, but I didn't find anything that was...
You wanted something big.
Yeah, you always want something that's maybe never been done. I don't like using that term. I don't like being like world first. I mean...
I'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
Let's have a closer look at it then.
Yeah.
This is the bump front flip. This is how it happened.
I mean, generally the way you work these projects, you kind of build the riding from the small stuff to the bigger stuff, and that was definitely the case. At the end of the day, we were planning to go back down into the town, do the so-called banger of the trip, which is going to be the bump front flip over the side.
Bump front is world first, maybe.
Got some stuff that's never been done before.
Finally, on the last bit of light on the last day, got on my bike and I went for it. A trick I'd never landed before and I didn't think I would be doing anytime soon. It luckily worked out, so it was a real satisfying feeling.
And I think a real nice way to end the whole thing. 5 minutes after that, this huge dust storm turned up. I think it was a way of Epecuén telling us that we were done.
Is that a load of mattresses on the back of that car there? Is that how you start to do it?
Yeah, I mean it's maybe...
It's not cheating, mate, it's fine.
Well, it's maybe not the most core thing, you know, you don't see skateboarders with mats at the bottom of
you see FMX riders using foam pits.
Yeah, that's true, that's true.
I mean, you want longevity...
I mean, it's hard when you're doing, I don't know, it's a balance that I've found, you know, like because quite often when I'm learning a new trick, I'm doing it on location.
Yeah,
you know, if I'm doing
which has blown my mind, if I'm honest.
Yeah, if you're doing like a front flip of Edinburgh Castle, that was the first time I'd ever tried to do a tap to front flip that day. So we did it onto we had a mat on the bank that I tried onto, and then you maybe crash the first 6, and the chances are that you wouldn't have made it through those crashes to be able to then do it for real. Huh. And the bump front flip, it's a particularly scary and tricky one because you're going at this flat metal sign. It's kind of got quite a sharp edge to it.
Yeah.
And
is it?
Yeah.
Answer me this then. Is it a front flip over it, or do you actually punch into that side and that gives you the rotation?
So yeah, I mean the idea is trying to use the front flip use the sign to generate the front flip, because the takeoff that my friend built, friend George had built, is quite mellow. I gave him some kind of specifications, and then yeah, so you're really trying to hit the sign as hard as you can, and it really speeds up. And it's amazing how much it does, because it really speeds up. And I mean that one really came down, like I said in the thing, the last bit of light, last day, you know,
an incredible feeling.
Sun went into the clouds. Yeah, it was good. It was a good one. And then that big storm came in afterwards, and you know, like blew us off site. It was like went from calm as anything to 70-mile-an-hour winds, like big dust storms kind of thing. So it was cool.
So you were glad everything was done? And
oh, it was such a cool trip. I mean, I literally loved every minute of it with all my friends as well.
Was that one a lot less stressful than Imaginate then? Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the riding was, I would say, a lot more straightforward. Although it was quite dangerous being on the rooftops, it was just an amazing place.
Yeah.
And it was hot, and
it
had all those challenges. Yeah, but it was just
a unique place to be.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know about you. When I go places like that, I always think, well, I might never come here again.
I mean, it's seriously one of the coolest places I've ever been in the world. And
yeah.
If you ever find yourself in
Argentina,
middle of Argentina, it's about 700 kilometers or 400 kilometers from Buenos Aires. So, yeah,
if you're down that way, be sure to check
it out. Give it a visit. Yeah.
Well, of course, if you think Danny doing the world's first bump front flip is his greatest Red Bull moment, you can vote in our poll at redbull.com, redbull.com/Danny. Let's have a look at the moment that is currently in the lead. And the bunker is coming up, I'd say there. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's just 6% now behind the Bale. So, yeah, we're getting there. Let's have a look at the questions we've got in for you on social media as well. People saying 100% insane you are. Bike control at its finest. Ashley Adams, how many bikes do you have, Danny, and which is your favourite?
That's a good question. I actually keep all the bikes that I use in the projects.
Forever? Do you?
Yeah. I've tried to. I've even got like some of the original bikes from Inspired Bicycles. Yeah, one day I would love to kind of have a wee gallery of them, but I don't know. There must be at least 40 or 50 bikes that are in bits. Certainly sort of 40 or 50 frames, and then countless other parts. And then normally I have like one carbon Santa Cruz Trials bike that's built just for me.
Yeah.
I have one of those currently, and then I have a Santa Cruz 5010 and a Santa Cruz Bronson built up. So about 3 that are currently actually working.
Spoiled for choice then.
I know, honestly. I literally cannot believe that.
No.
You know, it's crazy.
Well, it's nice, isn't it? I mean, your successes, what you love doing has brought you more things to make you even better at what you love doing.
I still get the same feeling when I open up, you know, like a new bike day.
Yeah.
I still have the same feeling. It doesn't get boring, you know.
No,
you're like,
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's right. One here from Lou talks mountain biking. Want to know, at what point do you feel fear of pulling a trick, and how do you deal with it? Because clearly, as you've said, you go through that on every single shoot.
Yeah. Fear is like a massive part of riding, especially filming, because I'm always trying to come up with tricks that I've never done before. If you keep doing the same stuff over and over again, then people will get bored.
The progression, and you can see it in these films, is it's unbelievable, but to me, it's like, I don't know where you get this creativity from. Like you say, they are all different, and you watch them over and over again because they're all so different and diverse, and the riding's different in each one. You know, that's perhaps the draw.
I mean, you have your basic riding level, you know, that I'm kind of using. You know, you have that what you've been learning for the last 20 odd years. But then for the films, I really enjoy coming up with something that really suits either the concept or the location. It might be a spot you find, or something that you build. And then, when you're trying it for the first time, I, like everybody else, have a lot of fear of doing it. And you know, even if you're doing it onto mats and you get a feel for it, when you take those mats away, it's still concrete. It's still.
And there's always massive pressure on you as well. It's not like hitting a jump down the trails for the first time. You've got cameras, you've got expectations.
Yeah,
Is that a factor?
No, I don't really feel pressure from the filming. It's pressure from myself. You know, it's like because the rational part of my brain is. You know, I've learned, especially if you've done it onto mats, you're like, well, I've done it, I know how to do it, I just need to follow through with that technique, it'll be fine. But then there's the instinctual, irrational part of your brain that's like trying to keep you safe. And it's like, well, don't do that, because you're going to, in real time, you know, it's all about visualization with the tricks as well. So it's like, you in real time visualize you landing right in your arse, and sorry, excuse me.
No, it's all right. I think we're getting away with that.
And you know, if you've got a sore back, you're like, I really don't want to land on my back here. Or you know, you visualize your leg breaking or stuff like that. It's funny that comes into your mind.
It does, though, doesn't it? Is it getting worse or better? Does it get worse with age for you?
I've not noticed yet. But it also.
How old are you now, Dan?
I'll be 34 in December.
Still a wee lad, man.
Aye, that's it.
You're all right for a bit.
Still looking, you know. But it's what was I going to say there? It's almost become part of the filming. If I'm not stressing like that, then it's not hard enough. You know. So if you could land the trick first time and you weren't stressing, unless you had some kind of mad confidence boost, I don't know, then you know, it's become part of the filming process.
There's a good question to follow up on that from Darren Dazzler Kitely. Is there any trick you've decided that is too difficult and you haven't gone for?
There's certain tricks that I've maybe I will learn them. There's certain tricks that obviously everybody does, and it's been a big topic on some of the internet forums, is things like, why don't I do bar spins?
Why don't you do bar spins?
Because I just not put the time into learning them.
Oh, really? Is that it?
Pretty much.
You've got nothing against...
No, I've got nothing against... Well, I mean...
Do you have anything against, like, tricks that might be too BMX for you? Or
yeah,
is there a little bit
that's too trialsy? There's certain tricks that, you know, when I'm thinking about a new trick, I'm often thinking about something that not only the bike world that'll understand, that's something that the mainstream audience will understand. And certain tricks, like bar spins, unless you're doing something quite intimate, you know, like gapping between things or something, a bar spin's something I can throw in to add extra difficulty that the bike world will understand, but the wider audience won't.
Looking at the numbers, mate. Looking at the numbers, you're getting it all right.
But it sounds fun. I wish I could do them for photo shoots. That's the one thing I wish I could do, bar spins. But it's just a trick that, at this point in my riding career, by the time I actually get them good enough to be able to use them well for a film, it's probably going to be 3 years from now. So it's
so you have to gauge what you want.
Yeah, and I can't be. But my fingers are already pretty goose.
Is that as much as you can open your fingers out?
Yeah, my fingers, I don't know if you can see that in the thing.
Look at that.
My fingers don't actually straighten out.
That's what happens when you hold on to handlebars all day.
Exactly.
The only other person I've ever seen like that is a trials rider.
Oh, yeah?
Steve Colley, if you
really?
remember.
Oh, yeah.
Only me and Danny probably know his name here today. Right, I think we should move on to your last movie, and this, I don't mind admitting, is by far my favourite Danny Mac film. This is, without a doubt, the most feel-good mountain biking movie ever made. We Day Out.
Here we go. Then at the...
I love this.
Glenfinnan Bridge.
That's not the...
No, this is well. There's a little bit of cheating went on there. That's actually a different train. I'll put it out there now.
Is that right?
Yeah, it is actually. This steam train actually runs from Aviemore back to a place called Broomhill. It's like it's only like a 10-mile track.
Is that right?
Other side of Scotland, but yeah, pretty cool being able to.
Here we go. I love this bit when your feet hit the platform. Here come the trumpets.
Yeah.
And we're off, mate. This is... Enjoy the ride on this one. Come out in 2016, and it's already had 32 over 32 million hits, mate. 32 million hits.
It's a funny one.
Million.
This was probably, there's some tricks in this that are some of the hardest that I've ever done, for sure.
Is that right? It's got to be. I mean, Imaginate and this, to me, are my favourites.
Yeah, I really wanted to have this kind of slapstick.
I love this. How hard's that?
That was a lot harder than it looked. I actually had a few meltdowns with Stu.
Stu Thompson directed this one again?
Yeah, he was behind the camera with the Cut Media team. Yeah, I just tried to pick things that were kind of relatable. You know, if you went out for a mountain bike ride around the countryside, what did you see? You know, and you tried to turn...
Yeah, we're going to be looking at this afterwards, but this is unbelievable. I just love them. Like, what on earth, mate? Where did you get it? Yeah, I can ride a Bale. Like, where did that come from?
It's just, you know, try to think of things that were in the countryside, you know.
Where's this shot? Where's this?
This is up near Blair Athol, is that right? Near Pitlochry. It's like right next to the A9, an absolute nightmare of a trick as well.
That one?
Yeah.
The log?
That took me like 4 days, 400 tries, I would say.
And a lot of Vaseline?
Yeah, we end up, first day we used the algae on it, and then after the first day I'd worn it all off, and then we actually had to go to the local chemist and buy all their Vaseline to kind of leave it up. So
you sent Stu in, did you?
Yeah, well, my friend Nash was up to his elbows in it the whole day. It was he went over and above for that one for sure. But yeah.
Is this difficult? Because it looks impossible.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was some inspiration from. I think it's called a gnat spin from skateboarding. But
and did you see that post and went, oh yeah, I could...
No, we actually put that in. We built
did
that.
You?
So there's a bit of smoke and mirrors going on. We made we built those benches as well. So.
Did you really? Yeah.
Yeah, because we trying to use somebody else's benches, it was going to be kind of tricky. So it was easier just to build them.
Yeah. Well, look at that, dude. Now, you know, that's not something really that a trials rider should be doing.
Yeah, I kind of pretend now and again that I can ride jumps. I really can. I would rather barrel roll that jump than hit it straight. If you see me doing a whip, honestly. Yeah. And this was definitely one of the, I don't know, funnier ones to do.
Do you know what cracked me up? It's the way that you just casually look away from the puddle as you're riding in. It's like, I don't know what's about to happen here.
Well, I drilled holes in my frame actually. I rolled it off my bike and...
Did you?
Yeah, filled it with sand. Tires were filled with water, and then I had 30 kilos of lead in my backpack.
No.
Yeah.
What, just keep you down?
Yeah.
What if you wanted to come up if you were down?
Well, I would go over the bars. So Stu's reckoned me manualing into it wasn't good enough when I was kind of riding out. So yeah, that was supposed to be a case to front flip. We kind of, a lot of these kind of tricks we kind of almost sort of brush by, but this again took me days of effort.
Oh my. Dude,
trying to get it,
what is, like, this is, the way that the film moves though, and the way it all flows, and it is a story of you just out on your bike for the day, that's what I think captivates me about it.
It's meant to be kind of a bit blasé, you know, you're kind of meant to just sort of jaunt around, making it look very easy, but this was,
look at this.
Watch my knees on this drop.
Oh my God! Dude!
So my knees actually hyperextend backwards.
I'm going to slow-mo that when I go, and they go back a long way, don't they?
Yeah, and there's my dad waiting for me at the end here.
With a new set of knees?
Yeah.
Has he still got his own knees? Mine hasn't.
He does. He's still got those tartan trousers as well. So, yeah, I'm pretty proud of that film, actually. It was...
it's brilliant.
It was kind of a lot of kind of crazy ideas, and one of the hardest things was scouting, really.
Let's have a look at some of the...
There goes nothing.
Some of the outtakes.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, this is much, to me, I don't know. Of course, all your other movies are more than a mountain bike movie, but this is like entertainment. This is just, I have to watch this a lot with my kids, mate. It's full on.
Oh.
Whoa, that hurt, or not too bad?
Tell you what's nice about riding the mountain bike is you get to wear a backpack, and you know, you kind of you can fill it full of jackets as well. It's already got back protector in there, but you can makes crashing way nicer. Say if I'm doing front flips with a backpack on, you're like, oh, this is actually all right. You've got some kind of protection.
Weather was with you up there?
Well, it looks like it. And, the camera's got a bit fancier, so you can kind of really grade things to look at look. I mean, today that was quite overcast.
Did you have much Vaseline all over you then?
Yeah, well, I had a plastic pedal in the front, so it wouldn't tear up the log each time.
Never.
The hardest thing was trying to get that log consistent. Again, this took me maybe 200 goes.
How's your ankles these days? How do they?
The ankles are all right. We actually ended up putting Red Bull on the track to make it a bit sticky.
No way.
Yeah, just because that was the hardest thing. I had my suspension set up really soft, not soft, quite slow damping to help me to control that landing. Like, I don't know if I could have done that on the trials bike without the bike pinging off.
Is that right?
So actually the full suspension kind of really helped it. But with everything else, it didn't really help. Doing the trials stuff on the mountain bike
no, but
was quite tricky.
There's something very different about seeing do those trials moves on a suspension bike. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, in a lot of ways, it's what's the word I'm going to use? It looks harder than it is sometimes because the bikes are actually now so light. They've all got this one. They've got this one-by drivetrain, so the chain doesn't fall off every 2 seconds. And you can set up some really good brakes. So actually,
do you enjoy riding that bike?
The thing that I really enjoy about it is that the options it opens up. You know, I've been quite careful over the years because I mean, obviously, the sort of pioneer for me that's with the mountain bike on the trials is definitely Chris Ackrig.
Yeah.
You know, and he's done.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
you've got to go if you've not seen his films. You've got to go and check those out. But I've kind of tried to come in. You know, I did the Ridge originally. That was a bit more up in the mountains, and then this was the first time I was kind of really taking on the sort of more trialsy stuff.
Yeah.
But it kind of sometimes looks harder than it is. But then
does it? But the result is
it's not.
spectacular.
But yeah, but then at the same time, some of those tricks were taking like 400 goes. You know, so. Yeah.
But, and again, it's something that more of us can relate to as well. You know what I mean? That's more like the sort of bike that's more like a.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Again, the relatability of it on the mountain bike. You know, it shouldn't be able to jump up over gates, or, you know, you have to kind of really work with the suspension, and it certainly shouldn't be riding down hills and hay bales.
No, well, we're gonna have a look at that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have a look at that. The log, you said it took you 400 times to slide along that.
Yeah.
To slide along that log. I mean, do you ever get to a point where you just go, or have you ever got to a point where you go, this ain't happening and I'm out of here?
Oh yeah.
You do. That does happen.
I mean, I don't go out of there, but I have little tantrums. You know?
But yeah.
So what'll happen on location normally is, you know, turn up with all the, you know, spring my step usually in the beginning, you know, and I'm like,
out of the
right,
van. Here we go. Let's go, lads.
Yeah, and in the beginning it's quite fun because you're kind of trying out something new, you know, to think. And the first few times I tried the log slide out, you know, there's got to be, well, sometimes it might take you 100 goes and you're getting nowhere near. It's just like a disaster. You're just crashing, you're doing something. But then there'll be one where you get this little, you know, glimmer. Yeah, it is. And that's enough for you to keep going. But then it's, you know, it might be enough to keep you going that day, but it takes quite a lot of perseverance to really want to go back there day after day. Because it takes, you know, there's now, you know, for that trick there was maybe like four friends.
Yeah,
be there
well, that's
filming.
right as well.
Money's burning, of course, these days, you know, with...
What's it like when you look over at Stu? Do you ever get that feeling that he's had enough, the director? I mean...
No, I mean, again, that's why I film with
that's right.
my friends. You know, they understand that. I mean, Stu on the log side had a particularly easy time. Just sat there pressing start and stop.
Yeah, he didn't even move with it, did he?
Yeah,
he
just takes his deck chair, you know. He has a pina colada next to him, just presses,
yeah, that's what I heard, mate.
But yeah, you've got to kind of like just imagine how good it's going to feel when you land it, even when you're sort of hitting yourself countless times and in between the legs or whatever you're doing. You just keep going and you have little tantrums here and there. You keep twisting the handlebars, you know.
What's a tantrum for you?
Tantrum, I very, very rarely throw my bike. You know, I know it's quite common, you know, in certain...
I was a specialist at it.
Yeah, it's hard.
I mean, throw mine and
the
jump
trouble
on
is if you do it, you know, if you lose it that much, then, you know, if I break spokes or if I... mountain bikes, they're tough, but they're tough.
Put a brake cable out.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You do that, and, you know,
locations.
you're only going to be even more annoyed. So I try to refrain from that, but I'll usually have to sit down. It's going to sound corny, but I'll literally have maybe like a power hour at the end with a can of Red Bull as well. That's like actually when I get to that point where I'm like,
right,
I'm literally down and out, and I'm like, right, power hour, I'm gonna do it. And usually the last bit of sun last day.
Yeah, because the pressure's on you. Maybe that's what you need to bring that out in you.
Yeah.
Was the Bale the hardest part of that movie?
I would say collectively it burnt the most calories because you know.
Hang on, let's have a look at it before we talk about it. Let's have a look then at this, the Bale.
Today we're in Fife, out in the east coast of Scotland. We are on this cool little farm and we've just set up some hay bales, and Danny's going to try and basically ride on top of a hay bale down a hill.
And the idea is that I'm going to jump onto the hay bale and try to roll on top of it through shot. You know, maybe get like 12 or 15 meters on top of it. So, no idea how it's going to go. I actually had to take the poles out of my rear hub. My bike's thinking it's going backwards, but I feel like I'm going forwards. So trying to react, everything you have to do opposite to keep them balanced.
Just a really difficult trick, and Danny has to do it so many times to get it right. We've got the glorious job of pushing the bale back up the hill again.
It's great, exciting having it on the farm. It's a bit different than what we're usually doing anyway. We're trying to make hay and silos just now, and it's not really happening with the weather.
It's going too fast.
Hi, Daniel. So it happened in the end, but talk us through it, because it was, I mean, it's a bale of hay that you're trying. Did you fall off the front of it and get crushed for a start?
A few times. My bike's definitely got crushed a few times. In the beginning, I think with that was definitely a sketch I had, you know, written down in my little book.
Did you? What you
so I had, yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like, it's a...
How did that come to you though? You're driving along, you saw a bale and a hill and were like...
It's not that hard. Like, see, if you're coming up with tricks for like a concept, normally I have, I mean, for Wee Day I had Scottish countryside, and then like, first of all I tried to think of things that are relatable as a mountain bike. What do you come across? You come across stiles, you come across fences. Hay bales are quite common things.
You'd already thought about a wee day out and
so
like, a riding video up, going out for a day.
Yeah, so I mean that's what you do. I sit down with my book, and then usually when I'm traveling somewhere, and then I kind of just, whatever comes to mind, you know, you think about what obstacles, you know, or what things you'd come across, and of course a hay bale's a natural one to think of as an obstacle. But what I thought, wouldn't it be cool if it was rolling and I could somehow jump on this hay bale? But it ended up being a complete nightmare. Originally, I went there for the first day.
Poor off Stu.
I'll not stay on it for too long, but I'll give you the way. Went there the first day to the farm. We asked them if we could get one of the hay bales, and you know, started trying to roll it down. There's some horses in the field, and I jump on it. I think the pedal gets caught, you know, rips all the wire, get pulled over the top of it, you know, crash, and then you know, as soon as that happened, I was like, well, there's no way this is ever going to work. You know, but as I was driving home, got back with my friend Nash, I was like, well, I may as well, we should give that a go. We should actually get them to make a hay bale that's 3 hay bales all rolled into one. So it was 450 kilos. We wrapped it in duct tape. Oh. And then went up to a field further up and tried to find a balance between a hill that gave me enough... to
find the right gradient must have been almost impossible, right?
In an ideal world, I would probably had it on a slightly steeper slope. But it started getting really dangerous for my friends. I mean, I've got to go...
For the people who'd have to stop the bale?
Yeah, it's like my friends. It's like Davey and Nash. It was Scott, Alex, and John Bailey.
Group of big lads.
Oh, I mean, we ended up going back there 4 days in a row. And they're basically getting this 450 kilo hay bale pushed at them. Because I would come down, I would have to run with my bike because I've got no drive.
You needed to take that off to be able to...
Yeah, so I would run down the field, jump on my bike, try to catch up with the
So
bale.
another thing, then you couldn't control your speed very easily.
No, and I had no kick, you know, I had no engagement to get off it as well. And, and one of the hardest things about being on top of the bale, like I say in the film, is the wheels are spinning backwards, so everything, it's like you're doing a fakie on the bike. It's like you're rolling back. So
it's all going wrong.
Yeah, when you turn the handlebars to balance, then what happens is the bike goes the opposite direction.
So how bizarre, you're actually going forwards, but the bike is acting like you're going backwards.
Yeah, and you pull the brakes and you go forwards. So you pull the brakes and it will if the back wheel grips, it would literally catapult you forwards, and then you'd probably get run over afterwards.
Man, there is a lot going on.
So it was sort of a bit of madness, but it's a cool feeling. You know, when you persevere at something for that long, then.
Well, the thing is that video, out of all the others, it's the most unique, isn't it? To me, it is. You know, as a viewer, it's like. I suppose it's just It's got the most weird, almost, and brilliant, I would say, bike features. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, we've almost finished our live vote of Danny's greatest Red Bull moment, and if the Bale is your favourite, you've got just a few more minutes left to vote. But Danny, before we look at the final results, here are a few final questions from the viewers at home. Got one here from Big Huck. What would you do differently or change in a wee day out if you could do it again?
A wee day out. That's a tricky question. I think for the puddle scene, I remember writing down in my book that I wanted to have the GoPro poking out the water like a periscope. Yeah, that was my dream. So we didn't actually dig the puddle.
Is that right?
We didn't dig the puddles deep enough for us to do that. But I really wanted to have the shot where the GoPro just starts coming out of the water, and then obviously the helmet and everything. That would have been a little bit of extra comedy.
Did you fear that you might drown under there with all that weight and not being able to get up?
There was some times where Stu was making me go over the handlebars into it, so it really looked, and I had to pretend like it was a surprise. But I remember I was lying.
It was genius acting. Mate.
Oh,
that glance away at the start, you cannot tell, anything's coming up.
And I've been lying on the bottom of the puddle with 30 kilos in my backpack.
Yeah, exactly.
Stu's got a lot to answer for here, but it was worth it.
And you dug that out, right?
Yeah, we went to my friend Peter's farm, and he kind of dug it out with his JCB, so it was all smoke and mirrors. But
amazing.
You've got to watch those deep puddles next time you go through them. That's what I wanted to do. It was like, next time folk went mountain biking, I wanted them to think twice about going to a big puddle.
Yeah, well, that's right.
That was it.
You put that fear in a lot of people around the globe. We got one, Susie MC. I think she sent in a lot of questions this afternoon. Not a relation, is it, Susie?
Don't think so. I don't know.
Danny, when was the moment you realised you could make a living doing what you love?
I suppose trial shows have been always been a big part of trials, and probably quite an easy way to be a professional bike rider. Probably easier in some ways than trying to become a downhill rider or.
If
you've got the skills. Obviously, if you've got the skills, there's good thing about the shows is that you can do them in quite a confined space. It's good for brands, all that kind of stuff. So I was actually doing before Inspired Bicycles went online. I was already doing shows in schools and kind of semi-professional. I would use my, on my weekends I'd be going and doing shows and stuff. So for the Forestry Commission and things like that. So
yeah.
And then, but I never imagined in my wildest dreams that I would be making trials films for a living, or bike films for a living. So.
Films with this much success as well. You know what I mean?
It's been. It's almost like being in the Truman Show. Sometimes you kind of wonder if it's actually if somebody's playing a big joke on you.
No, they're not. You are actually that good. And do you know what I must say? The one thing that I've taken away from having this hour with you is the fact that you are way more. You're not just a rider. You're this genius that is hands-on through every. They are your films. You come up with the idea. You know what I mean? And that I love that. It's made them even better for me. Actually,
that's cool.
It's really good. Cheers. Well, this is your final call to vote for the greatest Danny Red Bull moment at redbull.com/Danny. Before we close the vote, here are a few friends of Danny and fellow Red Bull athletes telling us their favourite moment.
Oh, class.
Yeah, I'm Chris Kyle, and my favourite Danny MacAskill moment has to be the nose bump front flip from Epecuén. I've just never seen anything like it. I don't know how you even thought about it, and it just took me by surprise, absolutely mind blowing, and hats off to you, Danny. Here we go.
Hey, I'm Fabio Wimmer, and my favorite Danny moment is probably the tank scene from Imaginate. Super unique, very creative, and as a trials rider, I know how sketchy that line was.
Hi, my name's Tom Evans, and my favorite Danny moment is the Bale in A Wee Day Out. I love this trick because it's the perfect mixture of comedy and skill.
Hey, I'm Hans Ray, and my favorite Danny MacAskill move was probably that front flip over that sign in Epecuén, or whatever you call that film. Anyway, that was a pretty outstanding move. I thought it was cool because it was so unexpected, kind of you hit an obstacle and you make a move out of it, way to go.
Hello guys, I'm Duncan Shaw, and my favourite Danny moment has definitely got to be the foot jam tail whip drop that he does off the gun of the tank in Imaginate. I was actually one of the green soldiers in that scene, so I got a pretty good view. But I also got to see Danny take an insane slam just a few minutes before actually getting back up and pulling it. To go from being knocked out to then pulling that trick in just a few minutes is something I'll always be impressed by.
My favourite moment has got to be the tank from Imaginate. Now that I think about it, I loved all of Imaginate.
You recognise that last one?
Yes.
Maybe. Okay, let's leave that one there. But plenty.
Oh no way! I did not clock that. Oh, that's class.
Oh, no.
That's why, because I hadn't seen him since 2013.
I thought that backfired for a second there, but
that's
no.
Class.
Look
No
at that,
way.
there he is now,
Awesome.
grown up Danny.
My goodness, yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Class,
eh?
yeah.
Absolutely incredible, but
did some great
good
acting.
to see the Godfather in there as well.
Yeah.
Hans Ray, I mean,
yeah.
He probably started trials, mountain bike trials for everyone, didn't he?
You know, I mean, I'm lucky. These days, I kind of get praise for what I'm up to on my bike. But I mean, Hans has been there and done it all.
Yeah.
You know,
and still doing it.
And still doing it. Yeah. I mean,
he must be an inspiration for you in a way that he's not as young as he was.
Yeah.
He's still there as a pro rider and
enjoying
riding and still doing these incredible films.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was lucky to do some stuff with him and Petey back in the day.
Yeah.
Kind of taught me a lot about what it is to kind of work with brands and how to kind of, deal with public and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, legends.
You're doing all right, mate. Absolutely great. Well, there you go. That was the last message on screen there. So, yeah, well, your votes have been flying in, and now I can finally reveal the results of Danny's greatest ever Red Bull moment. Let's have a look then, see.
Let's have a look.
And it is, the Bale is the greatest moment of all time. Agreed with that?
Yeah, it took a lot of work, so I'm fairly happy. I need to kind of make some bigger and better things soon, I reckon.
What you got left? Anything in the pipeline, Dan?
We've got some real fun ones coming up. We've got big one with Red Bull planned for Christmas.
Have you?
Yeah, that's going to be good.
That'll be something to look forward to.
Yeah, I actually can't wait because I've not.
Tell us about it.
No, I like to keep things a bit of a secret.
I didn't think we'd get very far with that.
I've not done some bigger films for a wee while, or like
long-term
project.
When was We Day Out? It was
We Day Out was 2016. So
yeah.
I mean, I have done other stuff. I did some stuff with Claudio over in Graubünden.
Did one with a baby.
Yeah, I did. Daycare out there.
That caused a few issues
I know.
around
Yeah,
the planet.
I don't know if we can talk about that here. So.
Oh, really? That's right.
But,
what's your favourite moment from all those movies? What's the best bit for you personally, Dan?
I'd say one of the coolest moments for me, although it was quite a stressful day, was getting to ride on Edinburgh Castle.
Yeah.
Getting to front flip off that, because at that time, before that film, I spent so many years riding the streets of Edinburgh, down Princess Street, looking up at the castle, thinking, wouldn't it be cool to get to do that? But of course, in a normal world, you're not going to ever get to do it. So it was cool to work with Red Bull, get the permissions, and
incredible thing to do, mate.
Yeah, it was a real stressful day.
Windsor Castle's just down the road. We can have a quick word with the Queen,
we can
see if we can get her on the line.
Easy.
Boris has got a main line in at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Just go to see him. Get on a Boris bike. Should be all good.
Perfect.
Right. But yeah, it's been absolutely incredible, Dan. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Cheers.
It's been unbelievable, and long may you continue to make the impossible possible. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for watching at home. Thank you very much for your comments, and we'll see you next time on Red Bull. Goodbye. Till then.
Today we're in Fife, out in the east coast of Scotland. We are on this cool little farm, and we've just set up some hay bales, and Danny's going to try and basically ride on top of a hay bale down a hill.
And the idea is that I'm going to jump onto the hay bale and try to roll on top of it through shot. Maybe get like 12 or 15 meters on top of it. So no idea how it's going to go. I actually had to take the poles out of my rear hub. My bike's thinking it's going backwards, but I feel like I'm going forwards. So trying to react, everything you have to do opposite to keep them balanced.
Just a really difficult trick, and Danny has to do it so many times to get it right. we've got the glorious job of pushing the Bale back up the hill again.
It's great, exciting having it on farm. It's a bit different than what we're usually doing anyway. We're trying to make hay and silos just now, and it's not really happening with the weather.
It's going too fast.
Hi Daniel.